we need to talk about perfectionism. And one of the reasons that I'm driven to talk about this is because I do a lot of work with stressed leaders and teams. And one of the questions I often ask them is to consider, in what ways are they difficult to work with? It's always a challenging question to be able to put the spotlight on ourselves, and in what way we might need to alter things. So what often comes out, the answers that often come out are things like, I have very high standards, and I push and challenge them and say, okay, most people, nobody gets criticized usually. Oh, that person's standards are way too high. Nobody ever says that. So in what way are those high standards showing themselves in your teams and with your peers? And one of the things that'll come back is that these people who say they have high standards find it very difficult to delegate, quite difficult to create really clear goals for themselves and others. And these are all signs of perfectionism, this anxiety about letting go and allowing other people to do things because there's this belief that there's only one real way to do it, kind of your way, and this worry that other people's ways won't meet your high standards. And when I work with leaders and teams, say to them, I regard myself as a recovering perfectionist because I've learnt the hard way that perfectionism is kind of a one-way street towards anxiety and depression and actually overwork, because we can be busy all the time, but we're not necessarily effective. Perfectionists are known for going into extra detail, researching things, over-embellishing presentations, and then consequently, missing deadlines because they have procrastinated and worried. They become paralyzed by this desire to do it right, and therefore they stop doing anything at all. You can also see that in sort of decision making, large or small. One of the ways I would say is, how long does it take you to decide on what your Instagram filter should be? If you spend more than a couple of seconds even thinking about that, you may well have this perfectionist streak. And that Instagram filter example is deliberate, because it's this belief that on ourselves we're not worthy. We need a filter, and we need to really worry about what that filter might be, because we are other focused. We're putting an awful lot of stress on ourselves to be good enough for other people, to be perfect for other people. And perfectionism is really the opposite of a growth mindset. Perfectionism said there's one standard and we need to strive and get to that standard. Whereas a growth mindset is this idea that we're always going to get better at something. We can always strive to get better. And in that striving to get better, we're going to fall, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to learn, but we're always going to work to get better. And we are going to allow ourselves that ability to make that mistake. So I try and work with leaders and teams to recalibrate their thinking and to encourage not a search for perfection, but a search for mastery and a search for excellence. And mastery and excellence are not at all the same thing as perfection.